profile. And like I said, it's not going to be the it's not going to be an offensive lineman. It's not going to be an offensive lineman here that we're going to profile. He is a name that was on our list that we brought forth last week. I can't remember if we did the draft guys first or the free issue. It's on one of the last couple of shows. So we had kind of some names to watch. Now, there are things that make sense with this player and some things that do not. But he played against the Bengals last year, had a high level of success. He is a guy that the Bengals have been connected to in one form or another, over the past couple of years. So the Bengals need help with a pass rushing defensive lineman, interior defensive lineman. This guy brings it. He's a little on the older side of things, but was arguably engaging in his second best season as a pro last year, and that is Sheldon Rankins, the defensive tackle who was with the Houston Texans last year. And you can see a little right up here. There he is going after Burrow right before Burrow left for the season the week after against the Ravens. But he had a whale of a game against the Bengals in what equated to, John, the second best season really in his career. You can see here's the stats from last year. He had 6 sacks. 3 of them came against the Bengals. 37 total tackles. He had 9 tackles for loss, 10 quarterback hits, and a forced fumble. I mean, these are all basically the second highest numbers of his career if you go year by year. So he played pretty well for this upstart Texans team that needed some help in a lot of different areas. D'Amico Ryan's got a lot out of a lot of different guys. And this, as he has gone on, and we'll talk about some different things with him, but as he has gone on, he's kind of shown, as he's gotten older, a penchant for maybe a little bit of some easier deals to sign. And so here you go. Here's some pros and cons to discuss with him. The age, he's going to be 30 in the season. So that's not normally a free agent necessarily that the Bengals look for. He's coming off of his second best season, essentially, when you look at things last year. The rental deal, it was a 2-year, after he left the Saints, he signed, I think, a 2-year deal with the Jets, and then he signed a 1-year deal with the Texans this last year. Could he be a nice rotational player with a rookie that they invest in? And so you get a little bit of this veteran leadership that Zach Taylor likes. You bring in a rookie to help out. And then, as I mentioned, the Bengals were interested in him coming out of the draft. And then when he went to the Jets, the Bengals were interested and thought they basically had him signed up before he went to the Jets. There was a guy that they were highly invested in. So now 2 years later, are they still that interested? Now, here's something that we'll show you here in just a second. This is one of the sacks, and we'll slow it down here. Here he is. He beats, I believe, Kappa. He beats Kappa, falls, grabs Joe Burrow, and then here he is to clean up the entire play at the end of the play there. And I can rewind this for folks if they want to see that one again. Let's go back to the beginning. Beats Kappa once again, gets in there, has Burrow sacked. Burrow does his magic, gets away from it, but gets back up, navigates around Kappa again, and then brings Burrow down. Also causes a fumble on the play that Orlando Brown ended up getting. So that is Sheldon Rankins in a nutshell. And that clip, of course, courtesy of the NFL, NFL Network, or NFL Films, CBS Sports, CBS, all of that. Don't want to be accused of copyright stuff. So there you go. But just a little bit of a snapshot on Rankins, and a guy that I think the Bengals may have on their radar. It may or may not make sense on some levels, but again, he's up there in age, but coming off of a really productive season.
Yeah, and he had 1 year with Houston. It seemed like over the past couple of years, the Texans were just accumulating a bunch of veterans on these cheap deals just to see what sticks. And obviously everything kind of hit for them before the injuries kind of, tore everything apart. But the season that he had, I think, defines who he is as a player. He is an exciting interior pass rush who's not necessarily a complete player, but having that as like the headline of who you are as a player makes you incredibly valuable. Like, he was, I think, 9th or 10th in pass rush win rate amongst, starting or significant contributing defensive tackles, and that was about the same ranking that he had against true pass sets. So his production was real, even if the sacks weren't, up near the double digits or anything like that. Unfortunately, I think the part about him not being that complete player, not very good in run defense, right? He misses a lot of tackles. He missed 11 last year, which is a career high. He missed 14 in the past 2 seasons combined. His missed tackle percentage is always going to be around that 15 to 20% range. And especially for a defense like the Bengals, who have struggled against the run and don't want to get gashed up there again, that's going to be something that they factor in, which is why, to me, Sheldon Rankins is just like Larry Ogunjobi, maybe a couple years older, right? It's just a guy that provides you explosion up the middle, gives you 500 pass rushing snaps, or 400-ish in that range, gives you another guy in that rotation just to cause havoc, right? You're not expecting him to be this run-stuffing guy that plays on all 3 downs, and that's exactly why the Bengals signed Larry Ogunjobi to just a 1-year deal with a little bit of upside. They gave him like a $5 million signing bonus, $7 million total, compared to what the inflation is for 2024 with the salary cap. It's probably closer to like a $10 million deal, and I think PFF has him right now projected to sign a 2-year contract worth about $10 million a year. And the only way I think that he gets that 1-year deal is A, he really wants to join the Bengals because they're a contender, even though he just came from a division-winning team. The Bengals finished last place in their division. Or B, this is just the year where the market is really saturated at defensive tackle. You have Chris Jones, Justin Matabuke, Grover Stewart, DJ Reader. A lot of these guys are entering the market, and a lot of them could sign these mega multi-year deals, and maybe Rankins is on the outside looking in. He's not getting the price that he wants. He takes another 1-year deal, and that's, I think, where the Bengals can kind of come into play here. And also, I think a 1-year deal is the only thing that Rankins could get from the Bengals just because he's going to turn 30 years old. So all those things kind of need to happen, but if they do, this could be that missing Larry Ogunjobi piece that they haven't had in a couple years.
BJ Hill had 4.5 sacks last year. DJ Reader had 1 sack, and Zachary Carter had 0. So, I mean, you look at, and I know, Sample gets shuffled around a little bit, but I mean, 1.5 from him, and, Tufele 0. I mean, really not much pass rush out of the interior defensive lineman. Hill, yes. Others, no. So he essentially, when you look at that, what is that, 5.5 sacks between those 3 players? Rankins had more quarterback sacks last year than those 3 players combined for the Cincinnati Bengals. And I think if you have this steady output of Hill, who's been a solid player for the Bengals, of getting around, 5 sacks a year, a couple of turnovers netted, etc., you're able to supplement him with a rotational guy like Rankins. Maybe he doesn't want that rotational role behind him, but you're able to supplement him like you were to mix in Hill and Ogunjobi. All of a sudden, you're looking at, 10 sacks between the 2 of them, if not more. You bring in another young guy. Maybe Carter takes that value next step in development. I don't know, but I just think you need to get more out of the interior from a pass rush standpoint. It was a big key to the success a couple of years ago when the Bengals made the Super Bowl run. They've been struggling to find some answers since. And you got to get pressure from other places not manned by Trey Hendrickson. That is for sure.
Yeah, and just for clarity's sake, he did sign a 1-year, $9.75 million deal with the Texans. Last year, they included like 3 void years to basically minimize the cap hit for the only year that he was there. But because there is that dead money there, makes it less likely that he re-signs with Houston, just because they have to clear the dead cap. I don't really know the entire specifics with that, but more times than not, when a player has like void years attached to his deal, it limits the likelihood of him coming back. So that will put him on the open market. And considering that he did essentially play for $10 million last year, his asking price may be a little bit more than that, just because the salary cap is going up. But again, a lot of this matters with just how the market kind of just establishes itself, right? Orlando Brown was projected to get $22 million per year last year, and a lot of suitors, and that didn't end up being the case. That's why the Bengals kind of came into play here. So we don't know exactly where he's going to be. We just kind of have a precedent. We have some established figures in that place. But yes, for what the Bengals are looking for, what they have valued, a 1-year deal with upside makes a lot of sense here.
Yeah. So Well, it has to make sense financially, and again, the Bengals are probably going to look inwardly from Higgins and Jonah and all these other players and see what they have to do and work that pencil magic. But this is a guy that, at least from a positional standpoint and what he can bring from that position, makes sense. And then if you're able to supplement that guy with some young talent, et cetera, to influx that defensive line with some pass rush help, I don't think it can hurt. It's really just a matter of making the numbers work. And if you will take a rotational type of role, yeah, the missed tackles are concerning, particularly in the run game. But I think this team just needs a pass rush boost outside of Trey Hendrickson. Not necessarily saying that some of the veteran guys who have been here for a while and have been productive need to be replaced, but some of the other guys on the bench that are rotating in, they need to get some sizzle and some pop from some of these other guys, and they've been missing that really since the Super Bowl run.
Very shades of what 2020 ended up being when you had guys like Christian Covington and Marcus Hunt playing in there. That was kind of what the end of the season felt like without DJ Reader. And knowing how they've addressed defensive tackle since then, and even before Reader got here, when it was just even worse in 2019, it is a position that they aren't afraid to throw money at and throw resources at. So good class for it, though.
Good class for it. Good class for it.